with Bia being injured and out for a good chunk of the year, a lot of it was they had one player to stop our opponent. They had one player to stop, and that was Chawinga, and they still could not do it. And she had this team on her back for a lot of the year, and she still came through.
In all competitions, she got 24 goals and 8 assists. That's her having a hand in 32 different goals.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special Thanksgiving week podcast. May you all be feasted and blessed. I don't know what I'm even talking about, but I'm Daniel Kooser here with Chris Wright. We're here to talk all things NWSL. Season's over. It's a wrap. We got the final in the bag. Chris, what's up, dude? How was your final?
It was fun, man. It was a great time. It was a little chilly. It actually wasn't too bad up until, about 7 o'clock when the game started. Then it started to get chilly. I tell you what, though, man, the fan fest, the pregame activations, like all that has taken a quantum leap from when you and I went in Washington in 2022.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so when we went, they had that like just one autograph booth and then just a couple side things, maybe a few freebies here and there, and that was it.
It was not eye-opening. I wasn't impressed.
I mean, you could go to a high school carnival and there's probably more there, right? Like, it is what it is. So with this fan fest, I really didn't know what to expect. But I got there about 5:15, I think, man, and there was so much to do. There were so many like activations and companies, like Just Women's Sports, Nationwide, Ally, like big brands that are sponsors with the NWSL were out there, obviously promoting their products, but like they had a ton of meet and greets with players, significantly more than what we had in 2022. And I don't know what 2023 was like, so that's tough to compare to see the kind of the evolution. But man, it was an absolute great time. Got to meet Tobin Heath and Kristen Press. It was like a 4-minute line to get through, and I was like, I didn't anticipate it. I was, if it was longer, I probably wouldn't have. But I was like, I'm here. I have an hour and a half to kill. Why not?
Anything?
Yeah, I did, and it was really brief. Like they were sitting down, and earlier they were like standing up. I think they were more like engaging with fans. But as time goes on, but yeah, man, like there was Messiah Bright and Michelle Cooper were out there. The line wasn't too bad. They had Kelly O'Hara and Gurma was out there. Like they had a ton of stuff going on, man. So I really think if you're ever considering traveling for an NWSL championship game, don't sleep on that fan fest. I can only see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger and better. So it really was a fun time.
It's also a pretty inexpensive event to attend. I mean, it's not tickets are through the roof, especially when you look at the secondhand market, like as the event gets closer. I think like day of, you could have gotten the cheapest ticket was in like the $20 range for like a standing room only ticket. That's not supporters section. That's standing room only section on like the north side. Did Michelle Cooper remember you at all? Did she know you?
Oh no, I didn't meet her.
Okay.
No, but I did do Kristen Press and Tobin Heath. But I mean, yeah, it was very affordable, man. Like my partner Vanessa, I got her sick, so she was under the weather, so she didn't go because it's cold and probably just not a great idea. But
did you have an empty seat next to you then? You didn't have anyone with you?
We actually sold it for less than what we paid by, about $20. So
at least you got something back, right?
At that point, we didn't want to like have an empty seat. Like it wasn't about money. It was just like trying to get a fan in there, trying to, get another butt in the seat. But as I was like looking at the resale market when we're kind of figuring out if she's going to go or not, I saw a standing room ticket for $7. Now I don't know what that was like for fees, the taxes after, but $7 is, what it was listed as. Yeah, man, super affordable event. I mean, I don't know, the Fan Fest was such a great time. So
Nice.
if you ever get an opportunity, if anybody does, certainly take advantage of that.
I did the drastic thing myself, and when we didn't make the final, I was like, fuck everything. I'm not going to the final. Like, I was ready to go, so I did sell my ticket for that. It was so funny though to watch it in like real time, to just like look at the map and you refresh and like more tickets started popping up around the map. And it was really like, it was like watching the stock market or something. Like, it was like ticket prices were high, and it's like, oh shit, you know, sell, buy, like
Right.
buy low, sell high situation. It was wild to see, you know, because if you have tickets to a game and your team doesn't go, naturally a lot of people throw their tickets out there, and I think we did okay selling it for a little more money. We kind of flipped it, you know, it worked out.
Yeah, and like leading up to the game, man, like I was following a ton of people on social media, and there was so much hype. Like the skills challenge, I initially intended to go to that, but was unable to make it. So I was kind of recovering as well, and it was colder that day. But man, they had just so much stuff for fans to go out there, and they had a ton of celebrities, especially like soccer icons out there. The Alex Morgans, the Rapinos, like all of them were out there. They actually had the Mahomes' suite, I believe, in the stadium. But I mean, it just seemed like the who's who of women's soccer was out there. And of course, he had some of the minority owners like Magic Johnson, Grant Hill was out there. It really felt like just a really cool celebration of women's soccer. I wish the weather was a little cooler, because I think the ticket sales would have been a little better. There's some spotty seats out there, but it really was a cool time. And you know, when we went to DC, it was really interesting to kind of mingle with like Spirit fans or fans from other teams who just really love women's soccer. And you know, talking to some Spirit fans, some Orlando fans, it was just really cool to kind of network and chat with them, and you know, ultimately just kind of celebrate this league.
I had heard that Spirit fans were kind of giving themselves a bad name towards the end of that game. I had heard firsthand from someone who was there in the supporters section,
Okay,
that they were just being ultimately rude during the trophy presentation, throwing things on the field.
really, I did not see nor hear that. That's interesting.
Right. Now, that was away from you, so I'm sure this happened like in the supporters area. Don't know, just know from like a firsthand account. I haven't heard from anybody else, but that's interesting and kind of embarrassing for y'all. You know, maybe don't get mad. You know, get mad at your team that couldn't score a freaking goal. You know, and I got to tell you, we know how that is to go to your place and not score a freaking goal in the championship back in 2022. And I don't remember throwing anything on their field. I think I was just sad and left very calmly and professionally.
We waited, you know, I think at the end, like we went from our seats and kind of went to where the supporters sat, and we just watched the field, and, you know, just kind of sadness and like kind of I hope the players remember this moment that fuels them. Which it did, because you saw a lot of players watching Portland celebrate, and you could just tell, like, you know, they want to get back after it. That's kind of how you should approach it. You know, don't go throwing shit on the field. It's not
kind of tough. You know, we didn't watch it and let it motivate us, because then we were bad the following year.
Fair. That was very fair.
So some things had to change, and they did, man. This was an iconic year. It's been a great year to be a fan of women's sports in general, dude. You see WNBA really getting more fans. You see NWSL taking off, adding more teams, getting stadiums, breaking attendance records. It's an exciting time, and I'm excited for, you know, 2025, man, because I also wholeheartedly believe that if we were the number 2 seed, we would have been in this final, man. We would have been there at our place, playing at home. And in all honesty, it doesn't matter. Orlando was the one team you could not beat this year. Couldn't do it. I'm glad Chawinga scored on every team, but you couldn't beat Orlando, and that kind of sucks.
It's hard to be mad, because you can't deny how good Orlando was. it's hard to admit, right? Because there's times when I feel like that first game we played, they beat us. I felt like we were the better team just watching the game. They got a Banda goal and then that ridiculous Marta PK that, was questionable. It was a silly thing by France to do, but I don't feel like we were outplayed. The game in Orlando, I feel like that was very even. It was a draw, right? The first game in Orlando. And then the second one, they were the better team, but when you look at the XG, we had a higher XG and, we really put it on at the end and, a couple of mistakes were made there, but Orlando is clearly the best team in the league, but I feel like we were just either on par or slightly below them. And had we been in the championship at home, I do think that would have been different, but
look at those games.
Hypothetical all day long.
Look at the past games that could have propelled you upwards. I mean, the draw on the road at Houston, coupled with the travel issues going to Seattle and having a scoreless draw at Seattle that Seattle celebrated like crazy. Just places
that racing Louisville goal where DeMello scored in like in the 99th minute. That where nobody stacked up. That was a draw.
Just little things like that, little draws that shouldn't have been draws, due to mistakes like that, like in Houston, where like Franch and Ellie Wheeler just kind of ran into each other and they scored. I just look back on it. It sucks to even do that in your life, to look back like, man, I should have done this. Man, I should have done that. You can't do that. It's an upsetting way of life to live. But damn, just a few more points and we wouldn't have had to go on the road and play Orlando. We potentially would have been playing Orlando at home. But it is what it is. I'm not crying.
Yeah, I mean, quite literally, if we had one more point because of the goal difference, we've had the advantage. If we had one more point, teams 2 through 4 would have been tied on points and we would have had the goal difference and we would have been number 2. That is the margin of error that we're talking about here.
But this season also was not without accolades. Like with the Summer Cup championship, like, dude, that was a legitimate tournament up until the final when Gotham couldn't play their starters because they were on international duty. But throughout that whole tournament, that whole competition, people played their starters. We weren't going up against bench players. No one else had NWSL games to play, so people played their starting 11. And KC Current got that done, man, and got there to get that trophy. Yeah, they got that other international trophy when we welcomed those 3 other teams from other countries. Doesn't really matter all that much, just a little friendly tournament. But that Summer Cup's nothing to hang your head on, nothing to hang your head about.
No. And I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do next year with like summer tournaments.
They might have some games in Mexico, which would be crazy.
That would be pretty wild. And I think it's fair, right? Like we talked about the disadvantage of the Mexican teams coming up, playing in their league, one day and flying up the next day and a couple days later playing us in our hometown. So
it's pretty wild.
They didn't feel like it was fair. But credit to them for doing it anyway and making it happen and giving their best effort there. But that'd be a lot of fun to go down to Mexico. Like I said, man, it was still a phenomenal year. You can't scoff at what we've done. Highest point total we've ever had. Probably the best record we've ever had as a Kansas City Current. New stadium, opening that bad boy up. Having a fantastic home field advantage. All the highs and the lows that came with this season. All the attention this stadium got. And then if you're in Kansas City, man, all the investment that's going on in that area, right? It's certainly something that you can only be proud of. And maybe a little saddened that we didn't make it to the championship, but nonetheless, certainly be proud of how this year went.
For sure. Let's take a quick little break. We'll come back and talk a little more. Stay right there.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your number one source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Now, I know we have not talked movies in a bit. I don't know if you're still on your movie pass thing, but I'm seeing Gladiator tonight.
I still got 64 credits to use. So
have you paused your membership? Because
No, I just haven't went, I think, about a month lower.
You're maxed out. It won't give you any more than 60.
I'm maxed out. Okay. I am maxed. Yep. I gotta use them or lose them.
That's what it is. It's like, don't charge me for another month when you're not giving me anything. You know what I mean? So I did have to pause it at one point. And you can still use those credits even though you're paused.
You can pause it?
Mm-hmm. I paused it. You can pause it for 2 months. More than that, I paused it till like January, but I used it for Gladiator 2 tonight. So very excited about that.
Do you look and see like what movies are coming out and you're like, none of this interests me, I'm just going to pause it and then reactivate it when stuff comes out?
No, I actually just pause it if it's going to like charge me again and I'm already like way over 32 credits, because it gives you 32 credits every billing period. And I'm like, well, if I'm only going to get 28 credits out of this billing period, then I need to pause.
Okay. I didn't know
I've only had to pause once.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, I heard Gladiator 2 was good.
Could be fun. Jimmy and I got on our Wicked train yesterday, man. We were geeking out about Wicked a little bit.
I heard that was good too. I heard it got pretty good reviews. I'll probably never see it.
He's a bigger fan than I thought. I was like, okay. Like, he had seen it live in LA. I'd seen it live in Chicago. So it's I don't know, it's a pretty special show, man.
Interesting.
Couple tidbits before we get into this game. You know what? Alyssa Nair, retiring from international soccer. The GOAT goalkeeper of USWNT, man, has been at it for like 15 years and is just hanging up the international boots. Going to still stay, in NWSL. It is what it is. Probably just wants to focus, be less busy, with all that. But good for her. She's a big deal, man. She's a stud.
I mean, when you take a look at the last 2 World Cups we've won, right? Alyssa Nair is that last. She's that player who was with Alex Morgan, the Tobin Heath, the Kelly O'Hara, all those, players in their prime when we won World Cup. She was a staple of that. And she really is like the last player of that era, of that World Cup winning era, to either retire or to leave international duty. So, I mean, what a remarkable career. She's going to go down as one of the best U.S. women's national team goalkeepers to ever put on the uniform. Thankfully, we still get to see her with Chicago, but it just kind of feels like an end of an era with the U.S. national team with her retiring from the national duty.
Horrible way for them to go out of the World Cup last year, man. Remember that early game? Had to get up early to watch it, and it was like a goal line PK, and it just crossed the line.
It was the fraction of a hair where they deemed it a goal, and she to this day denies that was a goal. She's not an animated person, but she's animated about that.
I mean, cameras, dude. Cameras show that shit. Technology. Like, you can't deny that. I don't know. I saw it and I was like, oh boy, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, anyway, so she went out with an Olympic gold medal, though. Right.
Hey, true.
So.
Good point. Accolades on accolades. Another thing, speaking of accolades, MVP came to Kansas City, man. Temwa Chawinga, the league MVP. It just makes sense. She scored way more goals than the next person, Barbara Banda, and broke all these records, scored on every team, helped Casey Current get a goal. I want to say help us get a goal when we needed it, but that's also not true. She usually just got a goal right away. It's not like she saved us in a lot of games. You know what I mean? She just kind of gave us the advantage in a lot of games. Well, what a proud moment for her, dude. From another country, coming here, getting shit done. It must be a whirlwind. And she's royalty in Kansas City.
I remember when we signed her, we were kind of like, obviously she had the most goals scored in the world, right? Men's or women's. But she played in competition that was kind of subpar, or at least we thought so. Also, I believe Barbara Banda played in China too. So maybe that's a place for us to continue to look there. But, when she came over, we were kind of like, I hope she's good, but we don't really know because like playing in China is significantly different from playing in the NWSL. How will that translate? Right? Like that's how we were approaching it. And we didn't put a ton of stock. We didn't look at her as like being our our main forward or attacker. We just didn't know. But Buddy, once she got going, she absolutely went off. And there was a lot of goals too where she could have had. There are opportunities that she could have had where she had one right in front of her, or maybe just skied it, or the goal count that she had during the regular season could have been much higher. But coming to a new country, man, playing with a new team, as humble as she is, she gives all the credit to the team. She's not taking it, being selfish about it and just promoting herself, man. It just a good person, a good teammate. I know she's doing a thing here with the current to promoting, I think, water resources or something like that from Malawi, which tickets to if you want to, go and support her, support the cause. I believe it's coming up here, but I mean, just fantastic person, man. What a fantastic person. You couldn't ask for a better person to win this award.
Fantastic year, dude. I think she's going to, really build on this success for next year. I mean, there's always that, that sophomore slump, if you will, that's the real challenge. Like, okay, thanks for the award. This is nice. I would like to replicate that next year. I would like to get another award. The Golden Boot, everything. Like, she's probably already looking forward and already, staying fit and everything, just ready to go. And that's the beauty about soccer, man. It's not far away. I mean, we're going to get into training camp in February, get the season going in March. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. We haven't gotten a schedule of off-season events yet, but it's going to be great.
I mean, the fact that there's no draft, right? That just means that we won't have that exciting draft moment that Americans are used to, but you will have signings throughout between now and preseason, right? You're just going to have these sporadic signings here and there that, I'm sure we're going to talk about and be excited to talk about. But, I mean, going back to Chawinga, and I feel like she did a lot on her own. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of these goals was her picking the pocket of a defender, pressuring a keeper, making it happen herself. And, with Bia being injured and out for a good chunk of the year, a lot of it was they had one player to stop our opponent. They had one player to stop, and that was Chawinga, and they still could not do it. And she had this team on her back for a lot of the year, and she still came through.
In all competitions, she got 24 goals and 8 assists. That's her having a hand in 32 different goals. That's so good, man. That's so cool. Players can only dream of numbers like that. It's
fictional. It's like FIFA numbers or FIFA numbers.
Something it's like we'll focus on is she's gonna make more assists, because how many times this year was she like one-on-one with the keeper and like Dabinia or Lowe or DiBernardo was right there that she could have just passed it over and they could have had an easy punch in. She's gonna look at that stuff and get better at that too.
Yeah, and as I think, knowing what we know about her, about this offense, about the attackers that we have moving forward, I think their chemistry is just going to get better, and they may bring in some players to kind of help with that. But yeah, I think they're definitely, kind of like you said, she's going to look at that stuff, and she's going to, every offseason, players try to improve on certain things. She doesn't have to improve on her speed. She doesn't have to improve on some things, but I'm pretty sure she'll notate that as something to kind of work on when she draws 2 or 3 defenders, try to find that open runner.
Wouldn't it be freaking awesome if she had more goals than next year? It's so cool. The finalists for this, man, it was Chawinga, Barbara Banda, Marta, Trinity Rodman, and Sophia Smith. All great players in this league, but no one had the numbers that Temwa had, hands down.
No.
Don't get me wrong. I could watch those other players ad nauseum. I could just watch the hell out of them, but none of them contributed the way she did. I love it.
No, completely agree. And like I said, what a crowded, finalist group there.
Yeah.
What are the thoughts on the winners of the remaining competitions, like midfielder, keeper? Do you have any additional kind of thoughts on those?
Oh, Croy Bethune at midfield. Emily Sams got defender. shoot, I don't know. I mean, it all makes sense, right? Like I have no problems with it.
Yeah.
It all,
Coach of the year, Seb Hines, like it all makes sense. Like there's no robbery, I think, at all.
Yeah.
I
mean, you could have gone Vlatko with it, but I mean, Seb Hines did the thing and took them to the final after a year of being pretty bad last year. We weren't good either, right? So I think Vlatko was right in the mix, right in the conversation with him.
Yeah.
What else was there awards wise? Is that it?
There might be double check. There might be a little more there. I mean, the fact that Hutton, by the way, was mentioned, as one of the finalists. Good for her, man. Such a bright spot, right?
For sure. And there was a few times when she was with the national team and missed a few games, and that maybe hurt. That maybe played against her. Maybe those could have been games that she stood out in or something. So it is what it is. You don't do this for awards. Not really. You want the trophies at the end. You want to celebrate. You do it for money. It's a job. You're good at this specific thing, so you do it making money. But I hope, what I hope is that having this final in Kansas City, I hope people walked away thinking, what a great experience. Like Casey Current put on a good little show. Everything was good from the pyro to the national anthem to the quality of fan experience. Like that's what it is at the end of the day, right? Fan experience. We've all been places where we're like, what a shitty fan experience, dude. Like, I don't feel like I matter. I just hope Casey Current made it memorable.
I don't want to throw shade on our experience in terms of Washington as hosting the final, right? I don't want to do that. But I will say, when we were there, we went to the stadium where the Spirit and DC United play, man. And as we were walking around, as we got there, we're like, it feels just like a larger high school stadium. Like the food options were about as bare bones as you get. Like it was pretty pathetic. It just, when I went to the stadium and I was there hosting a championship in Kansas City, it just really highlighted how much effort the Longs and the whole ownership group put into this particular type of moment. People from all around the country can come and experience Kansas City culture and food inside the stadium and have a feel for the city in this kind of, small scope of a stadium. And, it just felt like there's so much personality and character, at CPKC compared to Washington. Washington just kind of felt like a sterile venue. CPKC Stadium felt like a great experience. Maybe that's me being a little biased, but if I'm looking at it objectively, that's how I feel. So it can only go up from here. Credit to, the whole ownership group and everybody for really advocating for this opportunity, right? Like it's a tough sell to say, hey, 11,500 people for a championship when every other, few have greatly exceeded that attendance. So the NWSL put a lot of faith in Kansas City and they were incredible hosts. It seemed like everybody really truly enjoyed themselves. And also with that, the other soccer players or athletes coming to do media and everything else, everybody was raving about their time in Kansas City. So very well done, man. And it really made our city and our team look like $1 million.
I love that. I do want to say, I didn't have fun watching the game. Buddy, I was kind of bored. I hate to say that. You get that? Like, I mean, possession was, I don't know what the numbers were. I didn't look up possession numbers, but Orlando seemed to have a lot of it.
42 for Orlando, 58 for Washington.
Damn. Okay. See, I don't know shit, but I think there was a moment where I started getting a little sleepy. I was like, I'm just, glad. I mean, if I was there, I'd probably woke up by the cold. But I was at home in my toasty little blanket, probably had too much pizza, just about to crash out. Barbara Banda got a goal, though. Got a goal in really good fashion. But other than that, man, the Orlando keeper only had to make 5 saves, which means she was only tested 5 times. So that's not a whole lot for a team that has attacking prowess like Washington. But going in, I kind of knew Orlando was going to win. I didn't want Orlando to win. I kind of wanted, Washington to give them a good little thing. But at the end of the day, Orlando is the best team in the league. They proved that.
Orlando does such a good job. I mean, they've had the fewest amount of goals allowed by any team all year. Emily Sams, or, formerly Madrill, she won Defender of the Year over a player like Germa. And, she's going to be a national team staple moving forward. They are so good at giving up good opportunities or chances. They cut off passing lanes. They manage the midfield exceptionally well. They don't allow you to really kind of get one-on-one. They just do such a good job of managing the defense and the spacing and they don't give teams good opportunities, and they never gave Washington a good opportunity. I think one of the players for Washington had a header opportunity, but it was right at Anna Morehouse, the keeper. Like you said, they never truly tested. Never a goal line save, never like a diving save, nothing that really gave Orlando too much of a problem. I know a lot of people were critical of the officiating.
She was kind of letting it go for a bit. I was like, oh, it's that kind of game. All right.
Yeah, there was a couple shoulder charges there that were pretty stiff. I don't know. I don't think it was poorly officiated. And I was watching it live, so maybe I didn't see some replays to, change my opinion of that. But yeah, I mean, it really was kind of a boring game. I watched the replays earlier today to try to refresh something in my head. And I'm going to be honest, there's 2 moments in that replay I would actually consider a highlight. Like it was pretty just back and forth, but not a whole lot happening inside the box.
Yeah.
I know on the Barbara Banda goal, like there is some controversy with a push off, I think, that started that run.
Yeah.
I think Angelina, I could be wrong, pushed off a Washington player, like full extension with the arms, made the pass. Yeah, eventually went to Banda, and what a finish, man. What a quality finish. Like,
I think
she has a rocket for her leg.
See, even the commentators were like, I don't know if that goal's going to stand because of the potential foul that led up to it. Dude, Barbara Banda, I mean, she got the championship match MVP award. She scored 4 goals in the NWSL playoffs alone. That's 4 goals in 3 games. They only had to win 3 games to get this trophy. But the 4 goals are the most scored in an NWSL playoff in league history. The team's 8 goals across the postseason ties the NWSL record for most goals from a team in the playoffs. So also, Angelina providing that assist is the first international player to record an assist in the final.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty interesting. That's Orlando's 14th clean sheet of the season. 13 was the most during the season. So, like I said, five saves for Morehouse. Not much more to say, man. It makes you feel good that we went down there and dropped 2 goals on them at their place, and they could only do 1 at our place. So, hey, that's something for KC.
Well, I mean, not only that, man, but we were a few inches away from potentially tying that game with that cross that went into Sharples. Obviously,
that should have been a final. That felt like a final, bro.
It did, and that felt more of a final, I think, than any. I guess Washington and Gotham kind of going to PKs was 1-2. There was a goal in extra time that sent it to overtime.
Yeah,
in extra time. But I mean, the semifinals were clearly better than the final. That's what Orlando does, man. They don't allow an offense to really get moving. They'll give you possession, but they won't give you any kind of quality chances. And I mean, they're going to be tough to beat next year. So you really got to kind of step up your game. And when you have like a divisional opponent in football, and what they bring, and that to go through to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs have to go against a team like Buffalo, right? How good they are. I feel like teams are going to have to, at least for next year, try and be better than Orlando. They're going to have to look at Orlando and just be like, we got to be better on paper. We got to be better on the field that's a team to beat. I feel like that's how Kansas City should approach next year. They're the best team all year, man. They're the best team all year. There's no denying it. They set the record for the longest unbeaten streak, probably the record for goal difference. I can't see how they don't. I mean, they've been incredible all year.
I mean, it will be interesting to see if they are able to bounce back not bounce back, but continue this success next year. It's the hardest thing is to repeat in a soccer league, especially in a soccer league that has playoffs. You know what I mean? One misstep in a playoff and you're done deal. Some people love it. Some people hate it. It is what it is, but it's just watching this league grow. I mean, just in the last 10 years, from like the salary cap being like $200,000 to now being like almost $3 million.
The minimum wage, damn near, right? Like
the minimum wage, $6,000. Now it's up to almost $38,000. Isn't that something? There used to be like league maximums, and now that's like going away. You know, you can pay players more than the maximum.
You're competing with Europe and some of these other leagues, right, for top players. So you have to do that in a framework that doesn't take away the cap or, competitive nature of the league. That doesn't give one team massive advantage over the other, but allows them to be competitive within the rest of the world in terms of top players. And I think they're doing that.
Do you know that only 2 teams have ever won the championship and the Shield? You know who the other team is? Because they've done it twice, this other team I'm talking about.
Kansas City?
North Carolina.
Oh, God dang it. Oh, that's right.
They did it back to back in 2018 and 2019, both of them. Solid teams, bro. Solid teams. Obviously, 2020 was canceled, but it hadn't happened again until this year. Orlando getting the Shield and the trophy. That's something. It doesn't always work out that way, man. Look at MLS. How often does the Shield winner win MLS playoffs? I don't recall the last time it happened. I have no idea.
No, that just shows how good Orlando was, and they're so close.
I mean, even those 2 years when FC Casey won the championship, 2014, 2015, Seattle won the Shield both of those years.
Okay.
So those were kind of like, the 2 teams winning those trophies there.
And I know we beat Seattle, and I think the last one, I can't remember the first one. I think the last one we won, I think we beat Seattle. So I remember watching that on a crappy stream on my laptop at home. Like, it was not easy to find.
Yeah. This is Orlando's first trophy, man. Winning this.
Seeing Marta win in person, a final, seeing that's probably considered the greatest of all time for women's soccer. To see her win NWSL championships she's been chasing for so long was really cool. First time that her mom got to go to a game in the U.S., by the way. So her mom was there all bundled up, and I read somewhere, somebody told me that her mom didn't even have any winter clothes because Brazil, right, doesn't need them, or at least where she lives. So she actually had to go get a bunch of winter clothes and bundle up for the game. So I thought that was kind of adorable.
Speaking of family travels, I correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, in the chat, but I believe KU football's punter, his parents came in from out of country to watch, and he didn't even have to frickin' punt in that game on Saturday. From Australia. There it is, Nick. Thank you.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Parents, I'm going to watch my baby punt because he's been punting all year because KU has been losing and shit. And then they just went off against Colorado and were like, punter, hey, hit the bench, baby.
You think they'd give him one, just the end of the game. I don't know, just the family came from Australia. What a big win, though, by KU football. And I'm not trying to steal Nick's thunder, but
listen,
I've
never been a bigger fan of KU football than these last 3 weeks. It's been crazy.
Beating ranked team after ranked team after ranked team. That's so cool.
100%. I love it. Oh, 'tis the season, man. And oh shit, your Cowboys had a ridiculous game. What the hell?
if you would have convinced me that the NFL is scripted, that is the game to watch.
What the hell, dude?
Aubrey, one block kick, one missed kick, block punt. I feel like we should have won the game, but we have no business winning at the same time. Like, it was.
That fourth quarter made no sense. I was like, is this a game of Madden? Like, we're just going back and forth here. What is happening?
Like 30 some seconds, their second play from scrimmage or first play touchdown. We had 11 players back in the secondary and they still scored. And then a punt return. Kick return. And then onside kick, and our player, like an idiot, scored a touchdown when all they had to do was fall to the ground. They gave them another opportunity. I don't know.
I work out to like NFL game day on Sundays, and I was like, my brother's a Commanders fan, and I go, Commanders should probably win this game, my brother's team, and I said, Chris's team should probably lose this game, as usual. It's probably going to happen.
Fair.
And then later on, I see the score. I didn't watch the game. I was just like, what the what? And then you see highlights of it the next day on SportsCenter, and I'm like, whoa, what a time that was. So good for you. I bet you were losing your shit.
At this point, it's kind of like, do you want to tank for the draft? Because there's no way we're going to make a run, right? We're not going to make Dak's out for the rest of the year. Cooper Rush is quarterback. We're not going to make a run in the playoffs.
Right.
Part of me just rather tank, but I'm glad they did.
That attitude. I don't like tanking attitude. You play to win the game. You play for the fans who pay the money to be there. You know, if you know your team's tanking, I ain't going to that game.
But you have Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback. You don't got to worry about taking for a quarterback when you got Patrick Mahomes.
But listen,
if you're Cleveland, you probably want to tank to get a quarterback. But
let's not act like Mahomes has been football Jesus this year. He's had some moments, but it's been he's approaching his like season high on interceptions, and we're not even in December yet. So what a time. Buddy, NWSL's in the wraps. We're probably going to shift to like a bi-weekly podcast, just like we did last year. NWSL is a little slower in the off season with not as many teams. However, if something does come up and we just got to talk about it, we're just jonesing, we'll be here and we'll come on and talk about it. But if we want to let things build up a little bit to put together a good little show for you, at least half an hour or more, we'll do it. So I don't have anything else to talk about today, man. Do you?
No, I think you nailed it. One thing I would like to dig into is just some of the numbers of the season. Take a look at the season kind of by the stats,
and we will. I think that's a fuller episode really devoted to that.
100%. And I'm really curious to see how our defense changed once Schultz and then Sharples and Cook kind of came into play. And, it really kind of felt like a tale of two halves in terms of our defense. The big theme or narrative defensively was how many headers or crosses or corners that were coming in that were ended up being goals. Obviously, that got shut down once those three players came on board. So I'm really kind of curious to take a look at a lot of this stuff by the numbers. But yeah, like I said, that's going to be a larger show.
We'll get some stuff together, and we'll be all over that. So in the meantime, I'm sure the league kind of goes a little dormant here for the holiday. News will come out, though, after that. I mean, it'll be bing, bang, boom. I mean, players getting let go, players getting re-signed, trades. I mean, it's going to get a little wild, as it always does. So stick with us. It's always fun. Silly season is what they call the off season. Some of your favorites could be on the chopping block, and we might get some favorites from other teams. You just don't know, because everyone wants to be in Kansas City. We've proven it this year. I mean, Lowe said on the pregame broadcast, everyone wants to play here. And then Magic Johnson was on there with his big old charming smile. How do you not smile around Magic Johnson? I was like, I love this guy. I freaking love him. And Lowe was like standing next to him looking like a Munchkin, Wizard of Oz Munchkin.
How was the broadcast? Because obviously, like right before the game, I didn't watch it because I was getting there and attending. But like, how was
the pregame was kind of silly. Like they had Alex Morgan on to kind of like talk about her baby. We weren't even really talking about the game for a bit, and then they were kind of joking around with Lowe about her cellies. It wasn't really a pregame for the game we were about to watch. It was more just like friends hanging out, catching up, which is fine. I didn't hate it, but I was like, this ain't no pregame. That's not what this is. So it was cool. It was fine. Lowe was standing on like a box so she could see over the table.
And you mentioned it real quick. You mentioned that everybody wants to play here, and having the championship and just players coming and seeing all the facilities, just all of that bundled up. That might really pay off in free agency when they're looking at 2 or 3 teams to go to, and Kansas City is an option. And when you get all the ownership coming over and seeing all the things that Kansas City has done to help women's professional soccer, I imagine there's no way it doesn't motivate them to do the same thing for their team, right?
Oh, sure.
Rising tides raises all boats, or whatever that saying is. I have a feeling that that's going to help be a catalyst to help additional investment in those types of things into the NWSL.
If you're working in a corporate world and a lot of people on your team are jumping ship to a company down the street because they have a better way of life, better pay, you're thinking I'd be interested in that. It's the same way. So now your company needs to raise, their ethics, their standards, and make a better situation for their players. So otherwise, people are going to look to come to Kansas City, man. It's a hot commodity. You want to play in this stadium. You want to play for these fans. It's such a wild time.
And I think the ownership group, compared to last year, right, there is a kind of an atmosphere or a narrative that we didn't always do the right things by the players, right? I think that's completely shifted from them to now. So, what we always thought the Kansas City Current were or should be, I feel like now is a better representation. And then with the GM, since more player oriented from kind of what I gather. So
agreed.
A lot of positive things moving forward.
Yep. Cool. All right, people. We will talk to you real soon. Be on the lookout on your podcast feeds. Have a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Enjoy time with friends, family. I'm a games guy. I like playing games with family and shit. So it's a good time, man. As always, hit us up online at NoOtherPod, at Dan Kooser, at Chris Wright 21. Email us, nootherpod@gmail.com. Give us your questions, comments, pod suggestions, whatever. And something I always neglect to say, our intro music is Radkey, local Kansas City group. I don't always say that all the time, but Radkey, give them a listen. They're a lot of fun. So, all right, for Chris, I'm Daniel. Nick's in the chat. We love you guys. See you next time.